Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Doors closing.
Morning, Allie. What's the over-under on something weird happening today?
I'd say pretty high. This train always delivers.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. I am here today with an urgent message. This is something you cannot afford to ignore. The world as we know it will be ending this week. You've all seen the signs: floods, fires, chaos, and yet no one is prepared. But I am here to help you survive the end times. All I ask is that you give generously. Your donations will ensure you receive the blessings needed to face the coming apocalypse.
Weird train moment right on cue.
Yep, didn't take long this morning.
Now, if you would be so kind as to donate to your salvation, I will be eternally grateful.
Think she takes Venmo?
The end of the world and she's collecting cash. Classy.
Cicero is next. Doors open on the left. Cicero.
This is Tales from the Blue Line by Auditory Anthology.
All right, so I've got a story for you today that's been rattling around in my head. It's about this screenwriter, right? They're working on the plot for a new show, and everything seems normal at first, but then things start happening, like really weird things.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Sam sat hunched over her desk, the pale light of the computer screen casting shadows across the cluttered room. The script for the new pilot episode was sprawled across the desk in various drafts, crumpled pages, and Post-it notes stuck to the walls. The deadline was looming, and Sam hadn't slept much in days. She stared at the blinking cursor on the screen, trying to focus, but something felt off. The character she had created for the show, Derek, a brooding, morally complex anti-hero, was almost too vivid in Sam's mind. She had written every detail of Derek's personality, his motivations, and his struggles. But lately it seemed like Derek was more than just a fictional character. It was as if Derek was somehow present, watching from the shadows. It started small. Sam would hear faint sounds like footsteps in the hallway late at night. Objects would move, just a little, like the pen on her desk, shifting slightly when she wasn't looking. But the more she worked on the script, the more intense the feeling became. Last night, Sam had woken from a vivid dream in which Derek had stood at the front of her bed, staring down at her as if waiting for something. When she woke, the feeling of being watched lingered in the room, an unsettling presence that didn't fade with the morning light. At first, Sam had brushed it off as stress. She was overworked, she told herself. Everyone gets a little paranoid when they're working on a big project, right? But now, as she sat in the dim office, the sense of dread was creeping up again. Sam couldn't help but feel like Derek was still there, lurking just out of sight. "Get it together, Sam," she muttered to herself, running a hand through her hair. "It's just a character. It's all in your head." But when Sam looked down at the script, the words on the page seemed to take on a life of their own. The dialogue felt too real, like it was being spoken aloud somewhere in the room. And the scenes she had written and rewritten, played in her mind with unsettling clarity. Sam closed the laptop with a snap and leaned back in the chair, her heart racing. The room felt too quiet, too still. As her eyes scanned the shadows, she could almost see Derek standing there, watching. The sightings began to intensify. At first it was just at home, Derek standing in the hallway or sitting in the corner of her living room, his silhouette barely visible. Sam would blink, and he'd be gone, leaving only the feeling of unease. She tried to shake it off, telling herself it was her overactive imagination, her mind playing tricks on her after so many long nights writing. But soon it wasn't just at home. One day, on set, Sam thought she saw Derek lurking in the shadows behind the cameras. The crew was filming an outdoor scene, and as she glanced across the lot, she could have sworn she saw Derek leaning against a tree, watching her. She shook her head, trying to clear the image, but when she looked again, he was gone. Sam's heart raced as she walked over to where he had been standing, but there was no one there. She tried to brush it off, but it wasn't just once. It kept happening. Everywhere she went, she caught glimpses of Derek, always just out of reach, always disappearing when she tried to focus on him. The worst was at night. Her dreams were plagued with scenes from the script. Derek standing over her, speaking lines she had written, as if he were acting them out in real life. Every morning Sam woke drenched in sweat, her mind clouded by the strange blur between fiction and reality. Her producer Dana noticed the change in Sam. She showed up late to meetings, her eyes red from lack of sleep, her hands shaking as she tried to keep it together. Dana tried to get her to take a break, but Sam refused. She couldn't stop now, not when everything felt so close to unraveling. One night, after another dream in which Derek had appeared at her bedside, Sam woke up in a panic and checked her script. The scene where Derek met his demise, one of the most emotionally charged moments of the pilot, had been altered. The lines were different, the outcome changed. But she hadn't made those edits. It was as if Derek himself had rewritten the scene, trying to change his fate. Sam's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. It wasn't just her mind playing tricks anymore. Something far stranger was happening. The character she had created wasn't just haunting her dreams. He was trying to control the story. Dana sat in her office, reviewing the latest drafts of the pilot script. Sam's behavior had been growing more erratic by the day, and Dana was beginning to worry. She'd brushed off Sam's claims about Derek haunting her as stress-induced paranoia. But now, as she read through the script, something wasn't right. She knew these scenes. She'd read and approved them a dozen times before. But now, as she scanned the pages, small details had changed. A line here, a description there. They weren't major alterations, but they were just enough to make Dana feel uneasy. Sam hadn't mentioned making any changes, and Dana couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Curious, Dana pulled up the earlier versions of the script and compared them side by side with the latest draft. The changes were subtle, but they were real. Lines had shifted, actions were different, and there was a new tension in the scenes with Derek that hadn't been there before. Something darker, more menacing. She sighed, rubbing her temples. Maybe Sam had made these changes in the middle of the night and forgotten about it. It wasn't unheard of for a writer to obsess over their characters and tweak things at the last minute. But Sam had seemed so convinced that Derek was real, that he was somehow controlling the story. Dana shook her head. That's ridiculous, she thought. It's just a script, fiction, nothing more. Still, something nagged at her. She decided to review some of the earlier footage from the pilot shoot. As the scenes played out on her screen, Dana's brow furrowed. Everything looked normal at first. The actors delivering their lines, the camera crew capturing the shots just as they had rehearsed. But then she noticed it. In the background of one of the scenes, barely visible at the edge of the frame, was a figure. A man dressed exactly like Derek, standing just outside the camera's focus, watching. Dana paused the footage and leaned in, her heart skipping a beat. It couldn't be. Derek was a fictional character. He wasn't real. So who or what was standing in the shadows? She replayed the scene, rewinding and zooming in. but the figure was still there, no matter how many times she looked. Dana felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just Sam's imagination. Something strange was happening, and she was starting to believe that Sam's story about Derek might not be so far-fetched after all. Sam sat in her living room, the laptop open on her knees, staring at the screen. The room was dimly lit, and outside the night was eerily quiet. She'd reached her breaking point. She couldn't shake the feeling that Derek was here, with her, even though she was alone. Every part of her wanted to stop writing, to abandon the project. But she knew that was impossible. Derek wouldn't let her. She had to finish the script. And this time, she had to write it differently. She had to find a way to end this. As she typed, the words flowed out of her in a fevered rush. In this new version, Derek didn't die. He confronted his fate, made peace with it, and disappeared peacefully into the night. Sam hoped that by changing his story, by giving him the ending he wanted, she could finally rid herself of the haunting presence that had taken over her life. But as the final words appeared on the screen, she felt a shift in the room. Her breath caught in her throat. She wasn't alone. Slowly, she looked up from the screen, and there, sitting in the chair across from her, was Derek. He looked exactly as she had imagined him, dark, brooding, with a cold, penetrating gaze. He didn't speak, but the air around him seemed to hum with tension. Sam's hands trembled as she stared back at him, feeling her heart race in her chest. Derek leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "You think you can control my story?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "You think you can just rewrite my fate?" Sam swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "I wrote you. I can end this." Derek stood, his presence overwhelming the small room. "You gave me life, but you can't control me anymore. You blurred the line between fiction and reality, and now you're trapped here with me." Sam's mind raced, panic surging through her. She knew she had to act fast. Without thinking, she grabbed the laptop and quickly rewrote the final scene again, her fingers flying across the keyboard. In this version, Derek didn't confront his fate. He vanished, leaving no trace behind, as if he had never existed. As she typed the last word, the room seemed to shift again. Derek stopped, his gaze locked on hers. Slowly, his form began to fade, dissolving into the air, just like the final scene she had written. Sam sat, frozen, watching in disbelief as Derek disappeared completely. The room was silent once more. She closed the laptop and sat in the stillness, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. It was over. Derek was gone.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Maybe you're a small business expanding into a new space, a mid-sized company planning for the future, or a large operation investing in the latest equipment. Whatever your needs, Atlantic Union Bank is here, providing easy access to knowledgeable bankers with local market insights and the right digital tools to keep your business moving forward. Because you deserve a relationship manager who cares. Call, visit us online, or stop by a branch today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
So, wait. That was just an idea you came up with for a script?
Yeah, it's been rattling around in my head for a while now. I haven't written it down yet, though.
Well, you should. I mean, come on. Writers haunted by their own characters? That's got a hit show written all over it.
You think? I wasn't sure if it was too far out there.
No way. It's just the right amount of creepy and clever. You could totally make it work.
Maybe I'll write it out then. You've convinced me.
You better. I want to see that story on my TV, not just hear it on this train.
This is Illinois Medical District. This is a Blue Line train to downtown and O'Hare.
All right, well, I've got to get going. We'll see what kind of haunted characters I run into today.
Hopefully none that follow you home.
Yeah, fingers crossed. See you tomorrow, Mason.
See ya, Allie. Maybe next time I'll have something written to show you. Tales from the Blue Line by Auditory Anthology is written and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at WeirdDarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you'll help keep the stories coming. You also get every episode completely commercial-free, and you can vote on which story will feature in upcoming episodes.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit Rocket.com. Rocket. Own the dream.